This is the RV Advisor Podcast with your host, Tom Alexander. Get all the latest information, trends, advice from experts, stories from the road, and more in the world of recreational vehicles. Now, here's Tom.
And welcome to the RV Advisor Podcast. I'm Tom Alexander, and today we're looking forward to speaking with the RV wingman himself, Alan Warren. He is the host of the RV Show USA, and he joins us right now. Hey, Alan.
How you doing, Tom? Nice to be with you.
Well, it's great to have you. Boy, this is a lot of fun, and I know that a lot of folks follow you on your show. And for those who aren't familiar, where can they find that show?
Well, the RV Show USA, we're kind of a hybrid. We're a broadcast radio program that airs on station affiliates around the country on Saturdays and Sundays, but we live stream the show on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central Time across Facebook and YouTube. So if somebody wants to catch the live stream, which is kind of fun to do, and see what happens behind the scenes, they can go to just either format or either platform, Facebook or YouTube, in the search bar, type in the RV Show USA, and we'll be the first thing that pops up.
Awesome. That's great. So the RV Show USA with the wingman. All right. And the wingman is with us, and so we have to kind of jump right into it here. I know that you've got something pretty interesting brewing here all the way up in Elkhart, right?
Well, a little bit, but if you don't mind, let me kind of back up and kind of give a little bit of how I got to Elkhart. I've been first off, I've been a owner of a campground in Central Texas for 5 years. I've been involved in the radio TV business for 35 years. I started this radio program a few years ago, owning a campground, and I called myself Mr. Happy because everybody loves to RV. It's fun. Relationships are made stronger by campers and camping experiences. But as time went on, I noticed these problems, and people would have things that were beyond their control, issues. And I started seeing a different side of the RV industry. So instead of being Mr. Happy, I started sort of calling balls and strikes and saying the things the way that I saw them.
Yeah.
And some of them are not really very pretty. And I'm not trying to be ugly, but I'm trying to be diplomatic in saying that there's a little bit of blame to go around in a lot of different places. And until we can be honest about, all of us be honest, from the consumer all the way to the dealer, the service centers, the manufacturers, until we can all be really honest, I don't think that we're going to be able to get to where we want to be.
Yeah, and RV advocacy and is important. I'm new to this. I not broadcasting, been around broadcasting for a long time, but the RV world is, I'm learning as we go along here. I've been hosting this show for just a short time now, and I'll tell you, I hear all kinds of people saying all kinds of different things, and like you said, not always pretty. Some serious horror stories.
Well, and that is true. But I'm learning as well, Tom. I mean, I think we're all, when we stop learning, we all want to learn. I want to learn every day of my life, and I love learning things that I didn't know, and that I just love being proved wrong when I prove myself wrong. Well, I had this image of these money-grubby, greedy manufacturers up in Elkhart, where 80% of all the RVs are manufactured, put together, and that they didn't care about quality, that they were shoving these inferior products down through the dealer chain, and they letting the consumer have to deal with their issues. And I know that that's a really broad statement. Not everybody does, but there was that kind of an image in the back of my mind. Well, when I experienced going to the open house in Elkhart, which was a gigantic event, it was incredible. I expected to be looked at with kind of glaring faces and people that didn't like me because of some of the stands that I've taken. But I was shocked because the people that I met at the manufacturer level, the division managers and so forth, they were actually nice. They were genuine and they weren't phony at all. They were very nice, and we talked about, we talked about football and food and, the weather, and they were just ordinary people. They weren't the money-grubbing people that didn't care that I assumed that they would be. And so I looked at many of the products, and the products I saw, Tom, were good. I mean, they're not perfect. There's not the perfect RV, but they're better than the Alan that has been on the radio has been talking about. And so there was this paradox going on in my head. I'm like, well, where's the problem then? Because, again, they don't make perfect RVs. Nobody does, but they do. Some people make better RVs than others. But unlike the automotive industry, where if you have a Ford pickup truck there in Florida and you break down here in Texas, the Ford dealer will fix it just like you bought it from them with those franchise agreements. And that's why, those are critically important in the automotive industry. They did not, many years ago, they did not have those.
Right.
Well, the RV industry does not have those. In a sense, they sort of do. And if you buy a whatever from a dealer in Florida, and I sell the same product, I'm a dealer in Texas, I'm supposed to work on it. But the ugly truth is, I, as a dealer in Texas, didn't make any money off of you. And I've got my service bays are already full with my own customers. And so I'll get to you, but it may be 2 or 3 or 4 months. And so because there's not that type of a franchise agreement, but it's not just that. It's that the dealers, not all of them, but the dealers are selling the RVs so quickly that they are unable to do the service work that is required, I believe it's required, to provide these consumers with a good experience. And so, I used to think that some of these inferior products would come out of the plant, they go down to the dealer, and then the consumer would end up inheriting them and these problems that they never anticipated and they didn't deserve. My new view is that there's more of an issue at the dealer level than at the manufacturer level. I could be wrong. Again, I love being wrong. But with what I saw in Elkhart, the problem, most of it lies with dealers that overcommit, they underdeliver. They may get these RVs, a delivery of new RVs from the manufacturer, and they're supposed to go through them immediately, within 24, 48 hours, I believe, to see if there are any major manufacturer flaws or defects. If there are, the dealer's supposed to report them. Mm-hmm. Well, from the stories that I hear, it sounds like to me, many of these dealers will have somebody at their dealership, and these are the bad dealers. This is the minority. The problem is they all look the same. They all look nice. Well, those dealers, the bad dealers, will have somebody go through with a fine-tooth comb over every RV that comes in, and they'll nitpick that sucker to pieces. They'll ding the manufacturer and say, well, this was wrong, that was wrong, that was wrong, that was wrong. And then they won't make all the necessary repairs. You, the consumer, come in and purchase this RV from the dealer that didn't make the repairs that were common sense and necessary. And the dealer may tell you to go ahead and make a punch list, go out and use it 2 or 3 times, and bring it back, and we'll fix it. In the wingman's view, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Fix whatever is that you know is wrong. Do a proper PDI. Walk the people through. Make sure the consumer knows how everything works with their RV. And most of the good dealers will do that. They will take the time, if it's 2 or 3 hours, especially with newbies, because there's a lot of moving parts.
Is it just because there's a larger network for the automotive industry? There's obviously more cars. There's more automobiles on the road than there are RVs. There's more dealerships than there are for RVs. And I'm assuming the parts are plentiful. There's more mechanics. Is it that simple? Is that why cars are able to be turned around in a day or two, or at the outset, maybe, longest maybe a week, versus an RV, which maybe does not have that sort of infrastructure, if you will?
Well, it certainly doesn't have the infrastructure. That's for sure. But the automobiles, cars and trucks are made by machines, by robots, instead of by people.
Yeah.
And RVs are made by people like you and me, and sometimes we're in a bad mood. We want to get off work. We're thinking about something else, and we may throw a staple through a water line. We may just not do quite as good a job as we're supposed to, but then we pass that along, if you understand what I'm saying. So you're dealing with a different product that's got a whole lot more moving parts that are different. You've got plumbing and heating and air and all different kinds of operational systems in an RV that you don't have in a car, and they're all made by different human beings.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so the human element comes into play where there can be error, right?
Oh, absolutely, and there can be an error anyway, in any manufacturing plant. But the good ones, Flagstaff Rockwood is one of the best lines of travel trailers, fifth wheels. They're fabulous. Well, I don't know this for sure. I don't get paid a nickel from any of them, but from what I understand, most of the people that work at their plant have been there for 3 decades or more.
Yeah,
and so the people that have had seniority, they've been around a plant for a long time. A Montana is a good brand. Keystone makes some good products. Of course, people are going to listen to this and say, I know somebody that bought a Keystone, it was a piece of junk. And that can happen. But when somebody says, well, what's a good brand? There's so many different kinds of RVs, from pop-ups to diesel pushers and everything in between. It's hard for me to tell you what's a good one.
Yeah.
The name of the game is to shop around, and you're buying the dealer. You're not just buying an RV. You are buying a dealer.
We're speaking with the RV wingman. He's Alan Warren, and of course his show is the RV Show USA. And Alan, how did you get into RV? I mean, what was the thing that just said, okay, you know what, I love this? When did that happen?
Probably when I was about 5 years old. I'm an old guy. I grew up in a family that we camped a lot. My dad's still alive, and he's kind of a hard ass, but he was always nicest when we were camping or fishing or in the out of doors. And I think that a lot of my love for nature came from when my dad was being nice to me. But everybody that I ever met growing up that was around a campground, around campfires, was a pretty nice person. And I started a TV career 35 years ago, and I was pretty fortunate. We had a piece of property that we sold 5 or 6 years ago. I needed to do something with some of the money. A friend of mine who's a real estate attorney said, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. He said, well, you're always talking about campgrounds. Why don't you go buy one? And I said, And he said, I'm foreclosing on one. So I went and looked at it, and that's the one I ended up buying. But so I've always had it kind of in my blood, but I love the people who RV, and I know that this sounds corny, Tom, but I feel this, I don't know, like a responsibility to say something if I see something. I must have watched too many Westerns growing up, but
little Gunsmoke, right?
There you go, Gunsmoke and the Rifleman, and, the modern day cowboy, whatever, Walker, Texas Ranger. I really honestly believe that the good people can win, but there needs to be education. Gigi, bless her heart, she is such a ferocious fighter. Just love this woman's spirit. And when I met her, I had heard about her, and I met her, I'm like, oh my God, this lady is special.
Yeah.
And the mission that she is on with the RV Advisor. I, quote unquote, right now, I do not own an RV. I mean, I own an RV park, a campground, but I don't own an RV. But you know what? I sent my money in, by God, because I think people need to stand together for something instead of just sitting back and complaining all the time.
Yeah. That's, I tell you, that's what you guys share, and I watch Gigi in the office, and she's just nonstop. I wonder if she sleeps. I always kid around. I said, I think there's 2 of you, but it's unbelievable. She's just around the clock, and people know where they can go to get help, of course, with the RV Advisor. And, of course, the service that you're providing, just amazing. And what we want to do is sort of let the folks know that on the next time that you come on, we want to have you and Gigi together to see about solving this issue in Elkhart, the dealerships and everything else and the stuff you've observed, and see if we can sort of unearth the cure here and see what can be done. The 2 of you in tandem. What can be done? So that would be exciting and very interesting to hear how that will go.
Well, I'd love to do it. I'm certainly willing to participate in any way I can. I think, in general, the RVs coming off the line today are built pretty dang good. Not all of them, maybe not enough of them, but the manufacturers are doing the best job they can. The dealers, they're probably doing the best job they can, but they are, up until recently when the sales numbers started slowing down, they've been making money hand over fist, and who can blame them for trying to sell as many RVs as possible? However, there's that other side of it. It's you don't just sell them once, one and done. The dealers that I deal with, they want to sell you an RV every 4 years for the rest of your life, and then they want to sell your kids one. So there's a different mindset, between selling one and done versus one every 4 years.
Yeah, it's like season tickets or something, right? To a like football team. It's
Yeah.
like generational. Once the parents get old, they're targeting the kids. I know how that
Well,
works.
you know what, Tom? The thing is about that concerns me about the RV industry today is that there are social media. It's a good thing and it's also a bad thing.
Right.
When customers go flaming angry, and many of them have reason to, it taints what RVing and camping is and what it can do for our souls and our relationships and our marriages and our kids. And there's so many good things that can happen when you have a good camping experience. But if you have a bad one, if things are broken all the time, if mom and dad are fighting during the campground experience, when you grow up, you're going to go, you know what? I remember that. It wasn't so cool. So the future of the RV industry depends upon not just manufacturers and dealers doing their best now, but it's trying to look way far ahead instead of just at the next quarterly bottom line profit.
Yeah. Well, that makes.
And then one more thing, and I'll be quiet, I promise.
No, not at all. Please share.
I've been talking to the manufacturers and the dealers, but here's the other part of the ugly truth.
Yeah.
Most of the complaints, and I've talked to plant managers and operations folks, half of them that they get that people are screaming mad, they're upset, about half of them are self-inflicted. These people don't have the proper education to use their RV.
Yeah.
They weren't given, either they had no interest when they bought it, or the dealer didn't spend enough time with them. They didn't know what their responsibilities were as a consumer, and then when something breaks, they want to go ahead and blame somebody. So I say it's a two-way street. The industry needs to listen to us, but we need to listen to the industry as well and figure out some way to communicate. And I'll give you a quick story. When I went up to Elkhart and I rented a car, they gave me this new fancy whatever it was, and can we show you how it works? I said, yeah, I'm okay. I'm in a hurry, just like everybody else.
Right.
Jumped in that car, and I'm driving down the road, and the next day it starts raining. Well, no problem. I went to go get the windshield wipers, and I turned the windshield wiper on. It was the back windshield wiper over the back window.
Yeah.
What the world? Now it's raining like crazy because I didn't take the time. And all it would have taken was a minute for him to say, here's how you do the front windshield wiper. But we as consumers, I think we need to take a deep breath, slow down. It's a toy, but it's a toy we have to be responsible for learning how it works. And,
and today more than ever, because, so much is competing for our bandwidth, if you will, forget attention. I mean, it's how much can we take in, with our smartphones and devices and everything else we've got competing for our attention and our bandwidth. A lot of people are just in that constant fifth gear mode. I don't have time. I'm sorry. I don't have time. I don't want it. I don't want it here. And you're right. We need to slow up and relax a little bit. These are huge investments, RVs. We know that. They're really big. If you're going to buy an RV, this is a serious deal here. Mm-hmm. And you certainly want to be able to learn as much, like you said, educate as much. I know Gigi Stetler is huge on that and educating people and having people know what they're getting into before they ever put their money down on the table. And then when they drive out, they need to know and be able to take on those things. And you said the self-inflicted wounds with so many of these RV issues, right?
Yes, correct. Sad reality is that people find Gigi, people find the RV wingman after they should have found us before they had their problem.
Right.
Most people that find us go, "Oh, where were you a year ago?" Well, you know what?
We're always
I was here doing the same thing. It's just, where were you?
Yeah, right.
And so we collectively, we need to somehow grab the attention without coming across as just being a couple of jerks, grab the attention of the consumer and say, look, this is a really cool deal, but you got to do your part too. And if you do, you're going to have a wonderful experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Arm yourself with the information before, and it's available. It's available not only from Gigi Stetler and the RV Advisor, but the wingman himself, Alan Warren, on the RV Show USA. Alan, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And also, well, we'll have you back real soon in tandem with Gigi Stetler and talk about how to resolve this whole Elkhart thing. So that'll be a lot of fun to hear. Thanks, Alan.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Sounds like a lot of fun. Talk to you soon.
All right. This is the RV Advisor Podcast. I'm Tom Alexander. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. So long, everybody.
You've been listening to the RV Advisor Podcast with Tom Alexander. This podcast is produced in association with Studio Alpha and Alexander Productions in Miami. Visit thervadvisor.com for more.